There is a clay tablet sitting in a restricted storage collection at the British Museum in London right now. It has a catalog number BM89427, and most people who walk past it have no idea what is written on it. But if the translation sitting in the museum's own archive is accurate, this 4,300-year-old piece of baked clay contains something that should not exist in any Bronze Age document. Not a myth, not a prayer, not a king's military record. A prediction. A specific, calculated prediction about the exact moment when Earth would receive its first authorized communication from an intelligent population beyond this planet. And if you stay with me through this video, I am going to walk you through everything: the tablet, the archaeologist who found it, the scholar who translated it and then went quiet, the astronomical calculations it contains, the identity of the sending agent it names, and why the window it calculates is not in the distant future. It is right now. Stay with me. This one goes deep. The tablet was pulled from the ground at Uruk in 1854. William Loftus, the British archaeologist responsible for the earliest systematic excavations at that ancient city, uncovered it from what researchers later identified as a temple library complex. Uruk is not an obscure site. According to the Sumerian king list, it was the city where Gilgamesh himself had ruled. It was one of the oldest urban centers in human history. And the library complex attached to its temple district held documents that predated even the standard Sumerian historical period. Among those documents were materials the Sumerians themselves had categorized under what researchers later identified as communications procedural texts records, specifically related to the relationship between Earth and intelligent populations operating beyond it. BM 89427 was among the materials shipped to London in 1855. When early researchers examined it, they found something they could not fit into any acceptable interpretive framework. The tablet did not simply describe celestial events or theological relationships in general terms. It described a future authorized signal from beyond Earth with a level of procedural specificity that genuinely unsettled the researchers handling it. Rather than engage with what it contained, they placed it under restriction. It was not prioritized for translation. It sat in that restricted collection for over a century. In 1992, a British Assyriologist named Dr. Andrew George, working at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, completed a working translation of BM 89427 as part of a broader research project on Sumerian communications and procedural texts. Andrew George is not a fringe figure. He is the scholar responsible for what is widely regarded as the definitive modern translation of the Epic of Gilgamesh, a work that established him as one of the leading specialists of his generation in Akkadian and Sumerian literature. His notes on BM 89427 are preserved in the British Museum archive, and what he wrote about this particular tablet is striking. In his own words, as recorded in those archive notes, this tablet preserves a predictive calculation regarding the first authorized communication the Sumerians anticipated would arrive from beyond Earth following a post-withdrawal isolation period. BM 89427 preserves an example of those methods applied to one of the most consequential predictions in any ancient document anywhere in the world. Now consider what the contemporary search for extraterrestrial intelligence has actually been doing during this window. SETI programs have been operational since the 1960s. The SETI Institute was formally established in 1984. In 2015, the Breakthrough Listen project launched with approximately $100 million in funding from Yuri Milner, targeting roughly 1 million nearby stars and the central regions of the Milky Way. The primary instruments have included the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia, the Parkes Radio Telescope in Australia, and the Automated Planet Finder Optical Telescope in California. All of that observational data has been made publicly available. The scale of the search has been genuinely unprecedented. And the search continues, operating directly inside the window that the framework on BM 89427 calculates for the arrival of the predicted signal. In 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University detected something that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence community has never fully explained. On August 15th of that year, a 72-second narrowband radio signal arrived at a frequency of approximately 420 megahertz. The signal's characteristics matched what astronomers had theorized would be consistent with deliberately transmitted intelligent communication. The 420 megahertz frequency is not arbitrary. It corresponds to the natural emission frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe, and had previously been identified by researchers as the most logical channel for any civilization attempting interstellar communication. And subsequent observations have confirmed it as a genuine category of celestial phenomena. The mainstream interpretation has produced multiple proposals for the origins of these bursts, ranging from neutron star activity to more speculative possibilities, without reaching definitive consensus. Among the most discussed is FRB 121102, the first fast radio burst source confirmed to produce multiple bursts from the same location, identified through observations starting in 2012. Subsequent repeating sources have been discovered, and specific patterns within the burst sequences have generated ongoing discussion about whether those patterns suggest structured organization that natural processes alone would not readily produce. The framework on BM 89427 would not specifically identify fast radio bursts as the predicted first signal, but would treat the phenomenon's existence as evidence that the cosmic environment contains signal patterns mainstream interpretation has not fully settled. The third section of the tablet names the sending agent. Now consider the contemporary landscape against all of that. The 2021 ODNI report on unidentified aerial phenomena, the 2023 and 2024 congressional hearings on unidentified anomalous phenomena, the 2023 testimony of David Grush and other witnesses before the House Oversight Committee describing programs allegedly investigating phenomena exceeding standard explanatory frameworks. The framework on BM 89427 would treat this entire contemporary disclosure trajectory as preparation institutional and public awareness being built during the calculated window to support the eventual recognition of the signal when it arrives. Simultaneously, the observational capacity of the species has been expanding at an accelerating rate. The James Webb Space Telescope, the Square Kilometry Array, currently under construction across South Africa and Australia, which when completed will provide radio telescope capability exceeding any previous system by substantial margins with a deployment timeline that aligns directly with the broader window the tablet calculates. The framework would not specifically predict which system detects the signal, but the convergence between where the technology is heading and when the tablet says the signal arrives is not something that is easy to set aside. The Fermi paradox remains an unresolved puzzle in mainstream astrobiology. The statistical likelihood that intelligent civilizations exist within the observable universe keeps being reinforced by exoplanet data, thousands of planetary systems documented across the local stellar neighborhood, with the estimated number of potentially habitable worlds rising consistently as detection capability improves. The apparent absence of confirmed contact becomes harder to reconcile with those numbers with each passing year. The framework on BM 89427 resolves that contradiction directly. The absence of detected contact is not a statistical anomaly. It is the result of a deliberate quarantine. And the authorized first signal represents the beginning of that quarantine's procedural resolution. What you are left with is this: a tablet exists. It is cataloged in one of the most respected museum collections in the world. A translation exists, produced by one of the leading scholars of his generation in Sumerian and Akkadian literature. That translation has been in a museum archive for 33 years and has never been published. The framework on the tablet describes a specific, calculated, phased contact resumption process. It names the sending agent. It describes the signal's methods. It calculates a window that is currently open. The mainstream institutions responsible for the tablet and the translation have not engaged with what either of them actually says. That is the story of BM 427. The window is open. The signal, according to the framework, is authorized. The question is whether the frameworks needed to recognize it are being built fast enough to matter when it arrives.